So, Josh, I got a back nine issue that needs to be resolved. Why do the calendars on certain form fills make you scroll back on the calendar manually, month by month, to get to your birthday? Do you know how much of a pain it is to get back to 1970?
I do.
Why would you ask my dad to spend half a day to get back to 1946? Time is our number one commodity, and you're asking us to scroll back on these calendars to get to a birthday. So let's scroll forward on this episode of the Back Nine.
This is The Back Nine with Dennis Williams and Josh Mora.
So, Josh, sorry, just one of those things. I was having to do it last week, and I was thinking to myself, what is the purpose of this?
Month by month?
Yes. You got to press month by month.
I'm not sure you're doing it right, if it's month by month.
I need a lesson.
I mean, maybe some of us who were born in the early part of the 70s may need a little technology lesson.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
Could be.
Maybe that's right.
I've had that experience myself today with technology.
You have had some issues with technology, HubSpot and some other things.
Few things.
Do you struggle with technology?
Seamless. Not broadly, no, but there are occasionally things that do. Some technology that confounds me, mostly because it's not intuitive, some of it. The stuff that is more intuitive, I'm okay with. But the stuff that makes me get all hijinky to try to make things work, like going month by month through a calendar, that stuff doesn't feel right to me.
What's interesting to me is how that just transpires, like in different generations. Like what bothers you in our generation, and what would bother a millennial or what would bother a Gen Z. Like it's all relative, right? What you can keep up with.
Yeah, like my dad had no idea 30 years ago. He's a very bright man, Harvard Law. Technology confounds him. And like one time, and this is when I was in college, he couldn't figure out how to record a cassette tape of something I was doing on the radio. Like he put the speaker of the radio next to the recording device next to the speaker instead of wiring it correctly.
My dad used to have my mom turn on start the VCR back in the day, when we had VCRs.
Pretty typical.
Anyways, a guy is going to join us right now. His name is Nick Warner, a good friend of mine. And I will tell you this, that he has to scroll back almost to the exact day that I do on that calendar, because we were born like 2 days apart, I think. April 29th and May 2nd, right, Nick? So May 1st. Okay, see, I was right. I was 2 days apart.
2 days, yeah.
And I end up saying 3. So Nick Warner of Nick Warner Consulting, my good friend from Granite Bay. Thank you for joining us, Nick.
Thank you for having me. Fun.
Well, we want to start with a little bit about your background. You were a high-powered, very successful lobbyist in the capital of California, Sacramento. You could name drop with the best of them in California with all the people you've been around over your 30-plus career as a lobbyist. You have pivoted into a very successful consulting firm. I want to start with, since our listeners know this is about your back nine transitioning, changing your life and everything. What was the impetus for your decision, Nick, to go from this high-powered life, very successful, to say, you know what, I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to hang up my cleats, and I'm going to start something completely from scratch, new business, and move on from something that you were very successful at?
Yeah, it's a great setup. I really appreciate it. I mean, I think most of it was born out of practicality. I decided I was able to get in the game at a really young age out of college, so my career accelerated pretty quickly. So the great news was I was working at a decently high level, at least on things that mattered, and had a little bit of a voice in my young 20s. And by 27, I had gone out on my own fortuitously. I got 3 job offers in maybe 6 months and went back and said, if you hired me on my own, would you hire me as a contractor? And they said, yeah. So I started a firm. I had a lot of wear and tear on me from 27 on. And one of the things I decided was, even though I was young when I, as you say, hung them up or pivoted, I was 50 plus a few months. It was the savings. It was the practical application of getting a financial advisor way before, frankly, I probably could afford one. Somebody who just was willing to take a risk on me in a firm. And I was able to grow with them. And I did well, but I didn't make high-tech money or like entertainment money or anything like that. Big DJ money or TV personality money like you guys. But I saved. I just want to see if you're paying attention. I slow and steady won the race, or slow and steady wins the race was a big part of what I did. I was able to be successful over the years, but I put myself in position to do that by saving for my kids' college in advance, by not overspending my means, by frankly living on no debt and paying off my credit card and saying no to things. So it's not as fancy or as interesting, but I knew that I didn't want to have that level of stress, that level of responsibility. And even though I was young, I had 30 years on me, darn near 30 years, 25 at a high level. So first you have to put yourself in that position. At least for me, I wanted to make sure that I took care of my responsibilities to my family and myself and my staff, frankly. But by saving, I'd put myself and them in position to ascend also and me to try something else more comfortably.
Nick, how did you know at that age how to do that? How did that discovery of planting the seeds for a possible future transition come to you?
I mean, some of it, what I mentioned was money, and it wasn't I made the most. It was I saved the best, and I was smart about just do it every month, and compounding interest is a beautiful thing. But the vulnerable part is the blood pressure cuff part. It's stressful. It's hard.
Yeah.
Nothing's for free, and you don't just become. I mean, I appreciate what you said. A high-powered lobbyist who knew everybody. I mean, some of that's true. Some of it is we had good, smart clients. We said no to clients that were just money-based, and we worked smart policies. We hired the smartest policy advisors from governor's offices, from the district attorney's office, from the state, from state agencies, we did it on substance also. Everybody's different. I mean, where I kind of took that was, it was awesome. I'm going to grind even longer years to get people trained up to make sure I finish the job I started. But I started gravitating toward, I think I want to have a no assholes and no unnecessary stress policy. And I started to notice that I loved running an office. I really take a lot of pride in other people's success, and I was good at that. And I had played out a lot of the more combative, really difficult, political, practical. I'd done that. It wasn't that it got easier, just I had done it, and other people were good at me in the space. So I started to both be worn out. I mentioned the blood pressure cuff, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
That started to catch up a little bit with the savings, started to catch up with people being better trained, and started to conflate or have me realize, boy, I really like helping people.
I want to go back to that blood pressure cuff thing, because there had to be some moments where you were thinking in your 30s, maybe even in your early 40s, before you made the pivot, are all these sacrifices that I'm making worth it? There must have been moments when you thought, I just want to chuck this aside and take the family and live in the islands for 3 years and reward myself for all the sacrificing I've been doing to this point. So maybe talk about some of those conversations you had with your family and with yourself.
So good. And I'm looking at Dennis too, because we've had a lot of these soulful conversations. I hope it's not cheesy to say 6'4" deep voice of me. I have goosebumps when you do, from the way you asked the question. I had a lot of moments where I'm making way more money than my friends in my 30s. I'm way more impactful. My title's director, owner, managing partner. I had a lot of titles. I had a lot of clients, but it was all in. I worked a lot of nights. I got a lot of tough phone calls on vacation where I was like, guys, I got to go, or I got to be on the phone all day with the governor's chief of staff, or the governor's on the phone for you. Yeah, I mean, big time. We talked about, I said, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I really, I need to move to Montana or Wyoming, or I'm not kidding. I was killing it to the outside world, but it was affecting my disposition. So you reach out, you get business coaches were hugely impactful to me. People that were more experienced than me that gave me ways. I didn't know how to grow. So I learned how to grow, and I learned how to shed the things that were causing me so much pain and get into my, do more of the things I like, but I had to let other people in. I'd spend money to make money essentially. But yeah, and I had a lot of thoughts, to be totally honest with you, about, is this worth it? When it became worth it for me, it wasn't that I was unhappy the whole time. It was that the acute moments and times were very acute, and they lasted longer than I wish they would, because they come with success. You guys, I know more about Dennis's career. He's been at the top of really big organizations, and it's awesome, and you get paid well, and it's beautiful, and it's really stressful and hard because nothing comes easy. And so, yeah, it had me think, these people, are they doing it right? Should I have done this reverse retirement thing where I live first? But then I popped out at 50 and I'd saved the money, and I am loving it. I'm doing just what I want to do. But there was grind. There was that final 5 years where I was trying to get people trained up, get out of that first chair, get down to second chair, third chair, where not everybody's like, Nick. There's 20 plus people that work here that are really good. That got to get off me. Those were hard. And there were some years where I'm like, I'm done. I'm toast. No, you're not. You're finishing this job for your family, yourself, to be a leader, to be an actual leader, not just a pretend leader, because shit's hard. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. So finishing that job, especially through COVID, where it got really rocky, and having a smooth handoff, no splash was our, no ripples. We didn't want to negatively impact our clients, my staff, their family. It was just, it's their time to take the firm over. It wasn't even Nick is retiring. It was baked. It was ready. And they've done an amazing job, by the way. So the parental pride you feel, and like once you get over, like, oh my God, they're better than me at this, which is a big part of me getting out the door, to be totally honest with you guys, was you get little beads of sweat on your forehead. Dennis had high performing sales teams. That's where we met, was you get beads of sweat on your forehead and you go, other than I'm taking money out of your paycheck, like, what am I adding here? They're really good. So there's a parental pride in the stability that is there, and for me to be able to do something else. Yeah, and I'm proud of it, to be honest with you. But it was partly opportunity, partly like I've had enough. And doesn't it seem out of logic test? And then I'll stop talking at this point. Like, I would start talking to myself, 25 years is a long time. I've been in the business 28 years. Like, you're not getting out early or quitting. Like, so I started to embrace that. I had people say to me, come on, because I was young. They're going to be so happy for you and proud of you. You did your part, please. And that's what happened. I didn't see that at first. I felt like, God, I'm 50 or 51. Like, am I leaving the game early and like letting my teammates down? These are really hard laws to change and defend. But it didn't play out that way. It's like, there's a logic test, like 25 years, 28 years, great run. You earn the right to try something else.
And you helped me. We transitioned very similarly at similar times and you helped me through my process, because I essentially worked in corporate till I was 49 years old and then started Three Bridges. And you and I, gosh, within a year of each other, started our own companies, and we coached each other through it. But I want to set some context up here, because I think it's important. I met Nick through an ex of mine. And I bring that up because there's challenges in your life and people that you meet and things don't work out. But then what you take away from them is the true blessings that those people brought to your life. So I can tell you categorically that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that. And I believe that I was brought into this person's life so that I could have the few friends that I have from that. And I consider Nick the closest of those who got me through so many things in the last 4 or 5 years. And it's why I wanted to talk to you. And I will tell you one thing that I think is important for our audience that you said to me during COVID in one of our deep discussions when I was really struggling. I was living alone in an apartment in Folsom, California, and Nick was one of the few people that would come over and spend time with me because he knew I was alone and it was COVID.
Dark dirt road too. It wasn't that nice.
Yeah, it was a nice apartment, but it was an isolated road. So it was for sure. And you came over talking to me. You said one of the most profound things, and I took this with me. It's why I have such a good relationship now. He said, man, we work so hard, dude. We bust our ass all the time. And I'm paraphrasing here. And you're grinding all day. The easiest part of your day should be when you come home for your partner and hang out with that person. That should be the relief, the time when you're the most relaxed and you can just unwind. And man, was that the best piece of advice. And I know you have that. I bring that up, Nick, because a lot of the things we talk about on this show are divorce, splitting up, second chapters, finding that right person in the second half of your life. Man, you were blessed. You found that person in your life in college, and you and Katie are still together and still happy, best friends. I applaud you for that, and I just want you to share with our audience the secret to your success, because it's not what happens to everybody in our audience.
Thank you. I think what I said was, the world is hard, home should be easy.
Yeah, well, that's good. I love that.
Said better than I did.
The world is hard, home should be easy. You processed it beautifully, though. It's meant to be processed by the individual. And yeah, I like that. I scoff at this notion. I categorically reject the notion when somebody says, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard. I'm like, it can be hard, and it'll be hard here and there. But if you're accepting the premise that going in, marriage is hard, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You got the wrong person.
Yeah.
The only context clue you gave me for this interview, including the context is I've listened to a lot of your shows, but you gave me one context clue was will be interested to know, for the reason you said we talk a lot about divorce, like what's worked. So I brought this up with Katie last night at dinner. I was like, Dennis posed the most interesting question to me. Some of it's luck in the fidelity part. I don't mean the marital fidelity. I mean like the model sticking. You meet at 21 years old in a bar. I'm a bouncer in a bar. She's a bar fly. Something generous.
Having now called your wife a barfly, we'll see if it lasts to the end of the year. But okay, go on. You do you.
I'm not really good with words. I'm more of a mouth guy. Forgive me. But we're both in college. We're juniors in college. We know about each other, but we fall madly in love. I think some of the runway was we had responsible jobs, and so we got to see each other, even though we were 25 when we got married. So it was 3.5 years ish. They were really formative years to see the drive somebody had, to see if you matched up on money. which we weren't perfect, but like she was more comfortable with debt. And to me, I was like, what is happening with this credit card? Like, it's not a thing. So we had a little bit of friction there, but friends, parties, like travel, parents, like how's your family situation? So we had a little bit more runway, but I'm telling you guys, some of it's luck. Like, I don't know what percent through those years from like 30 to 50, like all kinds of growing happens. And so there's some fortune. And I don't mean to be flip or glib at all, because I do not take anything for granted. I feel so blessed. And every day that goes by, I feel more fortunate to be in this situation, but I don't think I did everything right. I think I got a little bit lucky, but what I can tell you is pick somebody you like. For God's sake, pick somebody you like.
Yeah.
I love
somebody
that.
you like. My questions are, do you laugh? Do you like, it's helpful, especially later in life, if you have somebody that also is responsible and be a good partner. There's so much work to be done. And that's why I say we had a little runway to see she's solid. Because it matters a lot who you're teamed up with. And there's so many people you hear, they didn't get along going in. Dennis, we had a lot of conversations just in life about these things. Other people, sometimes you can almost always predict because they didn't get along going in. Inertia dragged them into the goal line. They own stuff together.
Yeah.
The world says you're supposed to. It's been 2.5 years.
Right.
So I don't have, there's a big part I don't have answers for. I just feel super lucky to have made it through and like have it look this way. And there's other parts that seem rudimentary to me.
We'll be right back.
Friends, over the last few seasons, we've introduced you to our friend Pete, or more to the point, our friends at Pete. Pete is the present and future of corporate training. It's a proprietary platform that allows mid-sized companies to build relevant, contemporary training programs quickly, efficiently, and inexpensively. With Pete's AI-powered platform, you'll get customized, interactive, threaded curriculum built in a fraction of the time at a fraction of the cost. Whether it's compliance, leadership, sales strategies, technical skills, employee onboarding, or anything your company needs for its ongoing training and culture demands, Pete designs and delivers exactly what you are looking for: fast, efficient, and effective. With Pete, you can focus on what matters most: developing your employees and growing your business. Pete, corporate training reimagined. Visit Pete.com, that's PETE.com, to learn more and get started today.
All right, back to the show. You've touched, Nick, on two really crucial points. Number one is continuing to connect while you grow together, right? And making sure that you are checking with each other to make and growing in the same direction, one. And two, doing all of that legwork at the beginning, which I think talking about that with a partner that you met at 21 in your early 20s shows remarkable maturity. So my question to you is sort of twofold. Number one, how did you get to that maturity? How did you know that at that age? And how do you pass that on to your children?
I didn't know all of it at that age, but we got along great. We didn't have sticking points around religion, money, alcohol, career, where we wanted to live. Like, you see some of the sticking points going in there, like the 5 pyramids of the world. Like, these are the 5 great cities. They're all a problem. Like, they're the 5 tenants, and like 3 of them are incongruent. We didn't have incongruencies, so I think we had a real fighting chance going in. My kids, I think, learned it by watching, I hope. I apply it more to my business coaching clients when I'm working with emerging leaders, especially people starting businesses. And we talk about how important, or not just starting businesses, we're going to start traveling is another one. Both certain stages of career, you start traveling to conferences for sales events, bigger meetings. When you haven't talked to your spouse about that and you have kids, or you're starting a business and you haven't had a conversation with your spouse about what it means, let's be adult. Let's be adult and talk about. So that type of thing, I think we did a great job on. I really encourage people, make sure you talk, make sure, not to overuse the word incongruencies, but make sure we're square, that they know what it is, that your husband, that your wife knows what it is. If your kids are getting older, I really highly encourage people, and I think we did this, talk to your adult kids about why you're not there. Find out what they care about. Like, you might be at the wrong thing. Like, that's awesome that you volunteered for this, but they don't care about that. They wanted you with your limited time there, like at this thing instead. So let's talk to them, bring them in. They can learn also. They might even want to come with you, but at a minimum, share with them why you're not there, what your pressures are. You guys, forgive me for this call. I have to take it. Here's why. Bring them along with you. But fidelity is usually through enhanced communication, and it's a partnership.
That's great stuff. I will say this, Josh, I mentioned this before, but Nick's a girl dad just like us with the same age difference in his girls. I think your girls are almost the exact same age. Mine are a touch older. But it's amazing. The other thing that I think you have to have in common, I was very blessed with 20 years with my ex that we did have the same values in raising kids. So I think that's one of the other things that you have to share over time is to have those same values in what you want to instill in your kids. Did that help you along the way too, Nick?
It did. And also saying sorry, like I'm a business coach and I work in leadership development. So like, is there a thing where like I have it all figured out? Like absolutely freaking not. And I work in confidential settings, especially in my one-on-one meetings. And I ask for sanctity of the conversations we're having in the group to keep them in the group. So I do pretty well with, but it allows me to share also. Like Dennis, one of the phrases Dennis uses is like he's run hot historically. So have I, and it's served me well. And he says it's a biggest strength. And I think you said biggest strength and biggest weakness. Mm-hmm. And so like I'm able to share that, or I'm able to share what interrupting people does, or how I felt when I got micromanaged and bullied. I'm like, okay, well, like, you might think I've always been the boss, but the last 2 years of my career, I got bullied so bad and it sucked so freaking bad. And it was like getting your heart broken by a girl. I'm like, I know it's going to serve me well at some point, but this sucks so bad right now. And now it's serving me really well. Cause I'm like, you guys, this is the situation I was in. It was terrible. And I would have said to you 3 years ago, don't get yourself in that position. Like I was in that position at the height of my career as an influential lobbyist, business owner, chief of everything, getting bullied. So empathy is helpful, and like not having it all figured out is helpful. I found and hopefully it's all right to kind of add this in because you didn't exactly ask me about this, but humility. I didn't exactly know this coming into coaching, but now I have some thousands of repetitions in it. So there's a lot of really successful people. You two, I mean, hopefully the three of us being three of them, when you're humble at a certain level and realize like, I don't know it all. I've made a million decisions, or I'm doing it right and it's not working. Let me see if I can figure out a different way, even though I'm right. It opens up a whole nother layer. And I'm not talking about your heart and your soul, because that's part of it too, but I'm talking about you're here, you've been amazing, be humble. There might be other ways to do it. Ask for help, ask other people's input, use your smart people better, shut your mouth. Yeah, don't be married to your way. Like, I'm like, I cannot believe how humble some of the people I'm meeting are. It's blowing my mind, and they're so successful, and they want my opinion on things.
I think
they're killing it. It's so interesting.
Nick, I think that's true in business and in personal relationships, that the phrases "I'm sorry," which you mentioned, and "I don't know," which you implied, are extremely important. Are these the messages that you're trying to get across on the podcast? If so, how? And if not, maybe talk about the podcast in a little bit more detail so that our audience can discover what you're doing there.
Thanks. And it's different than yours. It's possible for a lot of your listeners that pairs well. It's called Together at the Top. It's a long form interview podcast. So just like your shorter form won't be for everybody. My goal in the podcast, Josh, is to learn from really successful people, their successes, their failures in different industries, from different voices, and to allow others to have a forum to listen along that are interested. For me, you've interviewed a number of people who've written books. And if you're going to be a business coach and a leadership development consultant, I go into rooms where not everybody knows me. Somebody knows me. That's how I got there. Or somebody has met me and brought me in. But more and more, I need to have collateral. And so that's what a book is for people, is it's collateral, so they can see, like, what is this guy about that they just brought in? So podcast is much more work, but I realized over time, I did not know this going in. I think I realized this, or somebody mentioned it more recently, that it's a dynamic form of a book. So I'm poking at people. You get to see who I surround myself with, things we talk about. I'm not driving a message. I'm trying to learn. I'm really into the learning phase right now, because I can't serve people unless I can learn how to reach people, what their pressures are. I want to have people at different ages, races, gender. You mentioned technology on the last or earlier today, your use of technology. And so it's different by ages and different people's skill sets and that sort of thing. So yeah, I find all that fascinating, to be honest with you. I really do. And finding your way to humble people seems to be the common theme in just about all of it.
Well,
I'm not driving toward sorry, and I'm not driving toward a message. I'm driving toward learning, to be honest. And there's common themes all over the place. I interviewed a really successful Major League Baseball agent from Venezuela, and he brought up on the last show, and he brought up, man, I was listening to your catalog getting ready for this, and one of your guys in high tech was talking about not growing his business because he wants to be a better dad. He's like, I stopped my run. He's like, I literally, like, I've never had anybody say that to me. Now I feel like such a failure because I don't want to grow. how much money do I need to make? I want to be a dad. And he got that from somebody else on the podcast. And I was really like, it spoke to me too, but to hear how somebody else processed just that nuance, he talked about it on air for like 15 minutes. This guy did, about how I'm not a failure. I'm being purposeful in this. And I met another really successful guy who's pulling back on the gas to be a better dad. I dig that.
So, Nick, I could go on and talk to you for another half hour for sure, and I hope we can talk more because, again, the impact that you've had selfishly on my life has been huge.
And you're of substance. I appreciate that. One of the things I love about your show is the male humility. Like, it's okay to like care about things and have feelings, and even say like, I run hot, which I do too. But I love the you guys are talking about these things, and so coming from you, it means a lot, and I appreciate that.
All right, we'll talk soon, and come this way pretty soon. Come down to Delray and see us again. We had a blast when you were here, and I'll certainly, I call you every time I'm out in California. So we'll see you soon, buddy. Thank you so much.
Good to see you,
Thanks a lot. Appreciate the opportunity to you both.
Thanks, pal. Good luck.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, so that is Nick Warner Consulting, and his podcast is called Together at the Top. We probably went a little long there, so just a quick recap. Your top thoughts.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot. There was so much of substance there. I want to go back to the beginning. I think about the methodical way that he approached his career and the sacrifices he was making. And at times when he was living in it and feeling like he didn't really want to go forward, but he knew where he wanted to get to, and being able to be in touch with that discipline before he made his pivot, knowing that he was likely to make a pivot at some point. I find that fascinating. It's very much unlike the pivot that I made several months ago, earlier this year, where, I could have stuck it out for a little bit. I was making, like him, I was making good money. I knew when this one circumstance changed a little bit, I knew suddenly, oh no, it is time for me to go. I have to go. Not because that situation was uncomfortable or disadvantageous to me, because I knew it didn't align with me. He went through a long period where I think he was thinking, what's happening immediately around me does not align with me, but my intention, my purpose, what I'm driving towards still exists, and I'm going to stay with that. I find that fascinating.
I think the other thing that is aligned with that is the discipline to prepare yourself for, stepping aside at 50, the discipline it took to, because I will tell you too, where he lives, that was excruciatingly hard to do. It's like keeping up with the Joneses times 1,000 in Granite Bay, California. So for you to be able to be disciplined enough to say no, to not overspend, to not live beyond your means, that is very, very rare out there. And think about the financial crises he lived through over those 30 years that he was in business, and survived those and came out the other side. Just to be able to do that and have the discipline to run your company, and it's just amazing. And it's a great lesson for people out there.
Can I add one more quick takeaway, which was thinking about his personal life, right? And the steps he made in his early 20s. He said he didn't have any emotional maturity. He had something to identify that he needed to have those conversations. I didn't. I wish I had. I don't know that it would have changed anything, but I at least wish we'd had those conversations early in relationship with my ex-wife. And it's something I very much want to pass along to my children and to any younger people. When you're getting ready for that big step and really thinking about, am I enjoying myself in relationship in my 20s? Because I think he's right. There's kind of what comes next. It's just natural. You're going to get married. To have the conversations about that, I think will serve for better communication within the relationship going forward. And so I admire the temerity to have those conversations early and to set that example for his children. I think it's just great advice for anybody who is our main audience, who has young kids, who wants to help our children be successful in relationship going forward.
And then that's very complex, right? But even to dumb it down a little more was, if you don't get along, you're not going to get along when you get married, right? It's that simple. Really have to get along with the person that you're considering spending your life with. And if there are red flags and there are things that show you that you're not going to get along, it's probably not going to end well. So that's a critical thing. Again, we keep talking about being able to help people out in the front nine as well. So this has been another edition, very different than other episodes, Josh. I'm grateful to have you along, and we'll see you next time on the Back Nine.
Hi, I'm Kevin Zurich with Three Bridges Consulting. If your company is considering podcast advertising, consider Three Bridges your go-to partner. We specialize in connecting your brand with the perfect podcast and podcast hosts to reach a highly targeted audience. Podcasts really provide a unique opportunity to speak directly to your core consumer in a very engaging and intimate format. If you know who your audience is, we will find them and ensure your story resonates. So give us a call today to discover how podcast advertising can enhance your overall media strategy. Our number, 760-590-7634. Again, 760-590-7634. We look forward to hearing from you.
The Back Nine is fully baked with Hugs and Kisses by Stella Mix Productions and recorded at Pixelworks Studios in Delray Beach, Florida.